Tranche 1, Phase 3 of the Undercover Policing Inquiry. We just had Rajiv Menon, QC, giving the opening statements on behalf of Tariq Ali, Piers Corbyn and Ernie Tate, though we learnt that Ernie Tate sadly died in February 2021, having no meaningful exposure and not being able to give any evidence to the inquiry. As ever, Menon gave some fantastic quotables. I think he really went to the heart of what was wrong with the way in which the undercover inquiry is running the closed sessions, what's been called Phase 4 hearings. Huge amount, like 50% of the evidence that was given during those sessions has been suppressed, and it's not really explained why. These are the names of the groups that were infiltrated, which is it's 43 years ago. They can't be mentioned even now. One of the officers, HN21, was 20 years ago, went on BBC television to talk about being an undercover cop, but unwilling to speak publicly at a public inquiry. It's ridiculous. Closed hearings have no place in this process. It's a fucking absolute bollocks. He also, talked about the connections between MI5 and the spy cops, and just showed that, given that there is no record of useful intelligence being passed on to A8 being like the uniformed police who dealt with public demonstrations, and given that, people saying, they just ignored it, it's clear that, in reality, this unit was something that was set up for MI5. When the unit was set up, it was clear that MI5 didn't have any sort of infiltration into the New Left, into the anarchist groups, and the SDS really gave them an opportunity to have bodies on the ground inside these groups. So it's his submission that there was no role for the SDS in public order. It was purely about long-term intelligence gathering for MI5, and that MI5 were the organ grinders and the SDS were the monkeys. He explained in some fair detail about how it was insane to suggest that somehow the SDS were getting special intelligence about the way in which these large anti-fascist demonstrations were going to pan out. It's clear the uniformed police didn't pay any attention to the intelligence they were getting from the SDS beyond just to be, reassured that these people were subversives and would deserved any of the violence they were going to mete out. Everybody knew what was going to happen at those events. Well, the police knew what was going to happen because they were going to instigate it. The idea that there was any sort of benefit to policing by the undercover deployments is laughable. I think he quite successfully skewered this idea of negative reporting, which the Met have used about if we just send undercover officers into groups to find out there's nothing going on that was bad, then that's useful as well. It's like, fuck off. He also brought up about some of his other clients, Ken Livingstone, the Friends of Freedom Press, and how there's so little detail about them from the 1970s. That's not credible, and they were blatantly being spied on at that time. Freedom Press first mentioned in 74, but it's just like a real gap in reporting on them. And also that Barry Moss, who's giving evidence on Friday, should be questioned about what he knows about undercover police corruption in relation to the Stephen Lawrence case, and in terms of Mellon's client, Dwayne Brooks. I think it was a good opening statement. Much more direct again, which is great. Hopefully some of the points he made about there being regular reviews of the secrecy of documents that have been heavily redacted is taken on board. I doubt it, but it's something which he's been bringing up quite regularly throughout the process. Whether anything is taken of that, who knows. Next up, after the break, we've got Dave Morris, who's giving his opening statement, which is great. This is the first activist giving an opening statement since the beginning of this phase. Dave's been, Dave might be a bit of a legend. William McLiable too, if you know him, been an active anarchist for decades. He takes the view that you should give an opening statement every time you can. Just asks to give an opening statement and then do it. Fair play to him. After that, we got Kirsten Heaven, who's representing the other non-police, non-state core participants through the coordinating group. And then after that, we'll have a summary of evidence on Madeline and Julia Pointer. Should be an early finish today. Should be finishing around 1 o'clock-ish, which is good. Wednesday afternoon's off. That's old school, isn't it? Go and play for your sports club or whatever. Go training. I'll still be doing a Twitter Spaces at 7 p.m. I know it's quite a big gap from the end of proceedings to that, but I'm going to try and do it at 7 p.m. every day. Though I will not be covering tomorrow when Lindsay Jim is giving evidence. I'm attending a funeral of a dear friend. I won't be able to make it. Hopefully others will do this sort of stuff tomorrow. Live in hope. I'm trying to convince Chris to do the Twitter Spaces and maybe do some video. It'd be good if he did that, wouldn't it? Okay, I'll be back tweeting during Dave Morris's opening statement, and after he finishes the next break, I'll go live again.